Welcome back to the Football Terrace. 2-0 to Liverpool. Arne Slot's first home game in the Premier League. He gets over the line comfortably, majestically, and in the end, rather easily. That was a controlled game. There was a couple of hairy moments from some set pieces and a couple of good counter-attacks from Brentford, but overall, Liverpool controlled the proceedings. They had an abundance of chances. You're seeing the subtle differences between them and Jurgen Klopp's system now. It isn't as frenetic. They reserve a little bit more energy. It's a little more slow pace at times, but lots of nice control at the correct moments in the game as well. Brilliant goal on the counter-attack from Luis Diaz, who a lot of Liverpool fans have called out and questioned and been, I wouldn't use the word disrespectful towards, but haven't been so complimentary of him. His goal was taken beautifully. The pass was good, but the run, the touch, he struck it early. Wonderful. Mo Salah puts a cherry on top of the icing, on top of the cake, doing Mo Salah things. Liverpool's greatest ever Premier League player. He's getting towards being by a country mile as well, in my view. This guy is a brilliant footballer. He's a winner. He's aging brilliantly. The output's there. The consistency is there. Another goal from him. And I think what's really impressive by Liverpool is I still think there's levels this team could go up. It's 2 clean sheets. And they look solid. They look solid, generally speaking, throughout the course of the game. As I say, a few little moments. And, Alisson had to make a save or two. But that's normal in football. This idea that you're going to play a game of football in the modern day world and not concede a chance or two is absolutely ridiculous. A handful of teams have managed to be that good in 150 years of professional football. So overall, a really solid performance from Liverpool. I think Slot has settled in well. And this is very much why I've been telling Liverpool fans all summer, your standard is still a challenge for this Premier League title. Anything below that is weird to me. Anything below that, I think, is off. You're a title contending worthy side. You're not my favourites to win it. You're not my second favourites to. But Liverpool have a chance. I still feel as they get more and more used to the new head coach, Arne Slot, they can become an even better team. Their ability to control the game in the right areas, in the right moments of the game is also going to be key as well. They definitely need some signings. I still think they need to improve this squad. And that just helps you with injuries, which are inevitable throughout the course of the season. But overall, I was really impressed. Really, really impressed with Liverpool today. I think Brentford could have played for another 90 minutes and still not scored. It's been 50 years since they've actually scored at Anfield, according to one of the stats that were read out. And loads of really good individual performances from Liverpool. As I've mentioned, I thought Diaz was good. Salah himself. I thought Van Dijk was absolutely exemplary today. This was sort of the Van Dijk of old. Just cool, calm, collected, that typical Rolls-Royce performance that has been so consistently put towards him. I also thought Gravenberch was good as well. And I feel that in the opening 2 games under Arne Slot, overall, I've been really impressed with him. He was a player that when Liverpool signed, I was really jealous of. I wanted Man United to get him. His first season didn't maybe go according to plan. Maybe there was a few calls of, maybe we now saw why Bayern Munich didn't want to keep him. But watching him in his opening 2 matches, I think that subtle change in terms of the way Liverpool are playing now is really starting to get the best out of him in many ways. And no one head coach is the same as any other. But this is the one element that I think Michael Edwards and co have got right, is they've gone for a manager that may have some differences in terms of shape and different training techniques, but there is an overlap between him and Jurgen Klopp. And the biggest part of that is working with the profile of players within this squad. That's always key. The worst thing Liverpool could have done is brought in a manager who goes, but of the 23 main players, 18 of them in the next 2 to 3 years have got to go because they won't be able to play my style of football. That's the road to ruin, having that approach. There needs to be an overlap and a large overlap to keep the continuity. And Liverpool look to me as though they've got that right. They'll have some painful days. They'll lose some games. There's no doubt about it. But this team are in the title race. This team are in the title contention levels. And you can see that in the opening 2 matches. They are of that standard. And they have killers in their team. when you have killers like Mo Salah, when you have match winners, when you have defenders as good as Van Dijk, players as good as Trent Alexander-Arnold, the best goalkeeper in the world, for any Liverpool fan to say, I don't think we should be looked at as title contenders, that for me personally is horrendous. That's an abomination of an opinion to put Liverpool down in that way. I want to shout out our title sponsors, StocksFC. If you have not started to build your portfolio yet, I want to know why. If you have, give us your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. Who are you going for? What players? I've been holding off from doing it, but I already have Trent and Konate. They made me some points today. Trent and Konate have made me some points. This weekend, 686 reward points, I've generated. Trent Alexander-Arnold this weekend is the second highest defender on the entire platform, just behind Christian Romero. You've got Konate that's very high. In terms of my portfolio this weekend, Konate and Trent, my highest two performing defenders. In terms of midfield, Taverner did really well for me this weekend. Paqueta as well. Up front, of course, Mo Salah, one of my top performers. Erling Haaland, one of my top performers. Trossard, one of my top performers. So all of those guys did very, very well indeed. I'm looking forward to the reward money I'm getting this week from StocksFC as well, because I've got about 300 more points this week than last week. And I got like 16, 17 pounds last week from it as well. And had like a 2 or 3% rise in the value of my portfolio. So I'm buzzing about that. I am buzzing about that. So give us your thoughts, give us your feelings on StocksFC, what you're doing, what players you're targeting, who you're selling as well, which is absolutely key. And Mo Salah became really cheap during the summer because people thought he was going to leave. So they started selling their stock. And now that he's staying, boom, it's on the rise again. So I bought it when he dropped down to like 90 pence a stock. And Mo Salah now has already gone back up to £1.91. So yeah. Happy days. If it keeps growing. I mean, last season he had a high of about 2. I reckon that will grow by about another 4 or 5 pence, and then I might sell him. Later on in the year. But there we go. A few people saying, Terry, talk about Van Dijk. Yeah, look, I've already mentioned Van Dijk. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was really, really good today. Really, really good in terms of his overall play. Talk about Trent, Terry. Amazing. Terry, how confident are you facing Liverpool next week? Look, it's not, but I'll talk about that more in the week as we build up towards the game. Liverpool are an excellent side. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. They could cause this Man United team untold problems because, as I say, they're a really, really good side. But at the same time, I'm not panicking. I'm not thinking, oh my God, we're not going to have any chance whatsoever of beating them. We could beat them. We could beat Liverpool next week. Like, it's at Old Trafford. We've got a good record at home against them. We've been a much harder team to break down so far this season. Hopefully, we've got some more of our new signings in. Liverpool are a brilliant team, but we can beat them. So I'm not going into the game thinking it's the end of the world. There's zero chance of winning. That's not how I feel this season about my team. But I respect Liverpool. They're a dangerous side, and they have the capability. They have the capabilities of coming to Old Trafford and punishing us. So we will need to be at our absolute best because this is a title. This is a title worthy contending side, 110%. Terry, as soon as Husam gets here, ask him about Luis Diaz. I will ask him about Luis Diaz. It's already on my little notebook. Already on my notebook to ask him about that. This super chat here, Owen says, a Liverpool first half is worrying. If they play a better team, can't keep getting by in the second half performances. Now, I understand that. But I think there's something we're forgetting about the modern day game. And I want to throw this out there as a thought process. I would say maybe up until about 4 or 5 years ago, most teams went to whoever the top sides were at that time, but Anfield, Old Trafford, the Stamford Bridge. Most teams went there and sat behind the ball, tried to absorb, and it wasn't even so much catching you on a counter. It was maybe trying to get a set piece or a corner and score from it and smash and grab. That is how most teams approach football that weren't members of the top 4 or the top 6. But now you have so many teams. Yes, they play on the transition, but they press high. There's speed, pace, power everywhere. And teams try to play football in attack. I just don't think it's plausible in this modern day era to stop teams from having opportunities against you. Pep can do it, but no one else is like Pep. Pep's teams can do it to a certain degree, but even then, Ipswich scored yesterday. If you watch Real Madrid regularly this season, I watched the Super Cup the other week. They won and deserved to win, but let's not pretend like Atalanta didn't have chances. Go back to the Champions League final. Dortmund had chances. And that's the team that most consider the best in the world. It's the club everyone considers the best in the world. Most people consider. So I do get what you're saying, and I know you want to be better. But I think we're in an era, because so many teams now play attacking football, have pace. I think it's almost impossible to go, I want to play a game where our opponents don't threaten us ever at all at any point in the game, especially with the depth of quality in the Premier League. There are certainly things you can improve on, there's no doubt. But I just think you're up against a decent Brentford team that play nice football, that have quality players that are going to create chances. Next week, when you come to Old Trafford, both teams are going to have a fair amount of chances in the game. It's just going to happen, I think. Terry, reports have come out that say United and Napoli have agreed a deal for McTominay. Yeah, I've seen that, and we'll be reacting to that probably in the morning. Yes, very, very happy. I did see a journalist was really negative about that, going, United have not got enough money for a player like McTominay. He saved Ten Hag's job last year, and they should be getting much more money for him. I know he's limited, but they should be getting more money. So he's limited, and you think we should be getting big bucks for him? You said he's limited. And look, I know Scotty had a season last year where he scored loads of goals, but the man's in his late 20s and he's done it once. Scott McTominay is not a very good footballer. We're getting £25 million for him. I'm genuinely happy. I'm genuinely happy with that. I wish him all the best. I think he'll kill it in Serie A. But yeah, this weird notion of we should have got what? Like Emil Smith-Rowe is better than him. I'm telling you. Smith-Rowe is clear of him as an overarching football player. McTominay, you saw it yesterday. Got the ball 5-6 times in good positions. 2 touches later, we're fucked. I feel like we've robbed Napoli. He really isn't a very good footballer. He really isn't. I don't kind of understand it personally, but that's me. But there we go. Just in, Crystal Palace on red alert for Eddie Nketiah. Yeah, well, I've heard that the deal between them and Nottingham Forest has fallen through as well. But we're going to do transfers tomorrow. I got Sia and G backstage. I think Husam and the other boys are coming very, very soon. But G's here. Sia's here with me. G, nice to see you again, mates, after the sort of summer break. 2 wins from 2. Another clean Salah on the score sheet.
Yeah, no, big up, man. Nice to see you again, bro. But yeah, honestly, it was a calm performance, bro. It was just a calm performance. I listened to what that super chat said about first half. I kind of agree in a sense of because it does remind me a lot of last season where first halves we weren't really starting well. Difference is obviously it's only 2 games, new manager and stuff like that. So maybe I'll just put that down to just not really. We're not really there yet in terms of how he wants the team to play and stuff like that. But listen, we're getting 2 clean sheets, back to back. Whereas last season, you'll be getting 1-0 down, 1-0 down all the time, kind of thing. And that makes it 10 times harder for us to kind of come back in the game. But this time, second half, again, like the Ipswich game, we were better in that second half. We started to pepper them with shots and stuff like that. We looked a lot more threatening in that second half. We gained a lot more control. You can see we were kind of pushing them back, further and further back to their goal line, to be honest with you, where they were just trying to kick it long at times, trying to get Mbuemo, Vissa and whoever kind of free. But yeah, honestly, it was just a calm performance. And to be honest, I'll take calm, clean sheets from now until the end of the season. I'm not going to complain at all, bro. So it was good, man. It was good.
Listen, I forgot about that stat where it felt like the majority of games, especially the second half of last season, you just conceded first. Yep. And you're 2 games into Slot's era, and that's stopped so far. And I think that's very important to pull on, because when people talk about sustainability, conceding the first goal in games is never sustainable if you want to win major trophies. Yep. Just never is. Because at some point, you're conceding that first goal to teams that are very, very good. England were exactly the same at the Euros. We conceded the first goal in every knockout game. And in the end, we were undone by it, as an example. So I think that's a really important thing to sort of improve on. What did you make of Luis? I wanted to ask you about Luis Diaz, because a lot of Liverpool fans wanted him sold in the summer. But I feel like he got a lot of ridicule in the last game after a really bad miss. but he stepped up today.
I think it's funny, man, because everyone always trying to win, is always trying to win arguments in terms of this player's rubbish, that player's rubbish. Fan FC. Do you know what I mean? So I get it. Listen, I was one of the ones as well. Listen, I don't think I'd be crying about it if Luis Diaz had left, or it does leave between now and the end of the window kind of thing. But if he's going to perform, and he performed pretty okay in last game. Obviously, this game was a lot better. But if he's able to be consistent, I think the problem you've got with someone like Luis Diaz is that he's just not consistent, or we haven't seen it, since really his first 6 months here at Liverpool. That's been more of the issue. I've seen games like he's had today numerous times throughout the time he's been here, but I ain't seen that consistently. Do you know what I mean? Next week, for example, against United, obviously, God forbid, he doesn't put in that performance, and then you're thinking, all right, fair enough. Then he does it again for 2 here. Then he does it again for the following week after that. Then you're just like, oh, that's 2 weeks now. And then he comes out with another performance like today. It's just a level of consistency. And I think where he's not someone who, like a Salah, for example, who can stink for not that he did today, but just in general, he can stink in the whole game. He'll get you GA. At least you've got something to fall back on. He doesn't do that. When he doesn't have a good game, he doesn't provide you with that. So then you're like, so you're not having a good game and you're not even providing me with the G8. So now it's a bit more of a problem. If he's able to just be consistent, and again, I'm not asking him to score 30, 40 goals in the season, but at least be consistent with your performance. If you do that, I promise you, people like myself, and I hold my hands up, we'll have to hold our hands up. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to just hold that L, so to speak, in terms of wanting this player to leave. But I think it's gonna be a big season for him. I think if he doesn't perform this season, he's gonna have to go. Well, people are gonna be more on him going, to be honest.
No, I agree. And in fairness, a lot of the audience have said the first thing that when Husam turns up that we want you to ask him about is Luis Diaz today. Because obviously I know that Husam is someone that wants him out. But I also feel that you can talk about a player's performance, and we spoke about this in the Chelsea match reaction earlier, because some people said I was a hypocrite because I praised Enzo Fernandez's second half performance, but it was very good. So of course I'm going to perform. Shows up. It's not being hypocritical to say today that person was very good, even though 10 other times I said they were poor today. It's being honest and it's being integral and it's being authentic. And Luis Diaz was very good today, and I'm sure Husam shares that view.
Of course, he was good today. Of course. I mean, listen, people just love this, and this is point. Listen, I get it. I get it. G gets it. I know Terry gets it as well. Listen, it's part of being a content creator. I understand. People just come here as soon as you have an opinion. Oh my God, apologize. No one's apologizing. No one's apologizing. G just said something there. He mentioned the fantastic word that we cannot relate Luis Diaz with, and that's consistency. The problem with him is consistently doing this. That's the issue that all of us have. Yes, today was a fantastic finish. Yes, today was an incredible finish. Now do it again and again and again and again and again and again. And if you do it again and again and again and again, you see why. As an example, I know because I've heard G speak before. Exactly why the likes of Mo gets praise, and others in the team who do it at a more consistent level. So no one will apologize to anyone after one game, because that's never how football has ever been operated, ever. And we shouldn't suddenly change the way we speak on the sport just because a guy scored in one game. And by the way, because I speak up against Diaz so much, I got this, just so Terry knows this, I got this in pre-season. He scored 2 goals against Sevilla, and people wanted apologies because of 2 preseason goals. So we're not going to apologize to players based off of one game. Apologies come when you give me 15, 20 consistent games. I'm not saying score in every game, but at least make the right decisions in the final third. That's the thing. Because how about Luis Diaz apologize to us? Because last season he looked Ederson in the eye and he shot at the corner flag. Did I ask for an apology? No, I didn't. So let's not do this. But here's the positives from today's game. Now that we've gotten the shit stuff out of the way, here's the positives from this game. Second clean sheet. Only 2 clubs currently in the Premier League sitting on 2 clean sheets in 2 games, 6 points obviously as well. So for me, this is just unbelievably a good sign, because I'm Jurgen Klopp probably biggest fan in the whole Terrace community. Like, no one loves Jurgen Klopp as much as me. Terry knows what I went through with a lot of Liverpool fans, even during like when the season was kind of shit a little bit. I kept defending Jurgen Klopp because his philosophy is basically gung-ho football, which means that the negative of it is you will concede chances. Now, the good thing for me is I'm looking at the Ipswich game and the Brentford game, and we aren't conceding as many chances as we used to probably back in the day, like in the last 2-3 years, which is a massive sign. So yeah, for me that is just a good sign of things to come. I think McAllister is the unsung hero today. Absolute baller in midfield. Incredible performance. Gravenberch doing well. But once again, this win is actually like upsetting because it just shows like, yo guys, we just need 2 or 3 pieces and we'll be up there with City and Arsenal because the signs are there, man. Listen, forget what I want, what G wants. You forget what any Liverpool fan wants. Arne Slot himself tells you need a DM. Just go get the DM. Go get the left back because Robertson can be upgraded on. And listen, at least those 2 positions, what's needed. I doubt we'll sign anyone the way that we act. And as soon as we get one injury, Terry, and remember I said this on the Football Terrace, so as soon as we get one injury or something happens, this whole thing's going to go to the shits. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the game. But I'm very happy with the win today. Another win, another clean sheet. And yeah, we're cooking right now.
Yeah, listen, 2 clean sheets can never be sniffed at, and I do agree. I was very critical of Liverpool last year with the abundance of, and it was gilt-edged chances and the way you were being cut through in the middle. Where yes, there was opportunities today for Brentford, a few on the counter. There was a set piece close to the end of the first half where it kind of goes through, but I don't know. And the longer the game went on, the less and less likely they looked like scoring, and that wasn't the same last season. Sia, what did you make of Liverpool's performance today, the first home game of Arne Slot as well?
To kind of reiterate what Husam and G said, I'm happy with the clean sheet. I feel like clean sheets for Liverpool fans right now are the closest things to a trophy that we can get, because last season was very traumatic in terms of clean sheets. Arne Slot's more control style does kind of limit the amount of chances we concede. But like Husam said, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans will take these 2 performances as a sign that we don't need a DM, but we need a fucking DM. Because a team that is a level above Brentford and Ipswich at attacking, they will kind of tear through us a bit, because there are times when Gravenberch didn't win his duels, and then they kind of, I would say it's Van Dijk's and Konate's brilliance that kind of saved us. It's those 2 specifically. Robertson had an okay performance for once, but still we do need a left back.
And McAllister.
Yeah, definitely McAllister as well. Otherwise, it's a good performance. We can't expect the team to pull up trees yet. You can see that there's a little bit of getting used to Slot's tactics, but I think once it does click, and once you do get that DM and that left back, then things should be fine. I'm very happy with the performance. And Trent as well was very good on defense. Potter was very limited. I don't even know who Potter was. But yeah, all in all, happy with the performance, happy with the scoreline. Just need to get a fucking DM in it and a left back, and I think we're good for the season.
On that, a Liverpool fan here says Gravenberch has been revolutionary in the 6.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Looks comfortable. What do you guys make of that comment here from this Liverpool fan?
This is what's called premature ejaculation. Beating Brentford at home and Ipswich away is not an indicator of a 38 Premier League game season. Forget, never give up, with all due respect. Forget what any of us on the panel say, or what you say. Slot himself, assess the squad, told you we need a DM. He did not go into Richard Hughes' office and say, get me Zubimendi or no one. Use logic and be realistic about what's happening. Don't get
even Endo said we need a DM.
Yeah, Endo himself said we need a DM. Allison said we need signings. Van Dijk said we need signings. Let's not take the piss now. This win does not mean we don't need signings.
Mike's with us here. How you doing, Mike?
What's going on, Terry? How are you?
Yeah, I'm very, very well, mate. I assume you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah. Very,
good.
Very much so.
Good. What did you make of today overall?
I mean, listen, attacking wise, the link-up play was excellent, especially at the beginning of the second half, the way that we were able to just kind of cut through Brentford with simple 1-2s. You know, I know that Mo sort of ghosted in certain areas of the game, but then he started to shine, and so did Szoboszlai, and so did Jota when he was on the pitch, and even Diaz, Diaz with a goal and an assist. My favorite part, I would say, would be I think that in defensive transition, we were much more collective in getting back. Like every time Brentford were going up the pitch, you saw 5 Liverpool players coming back. There would be two Brentford attackers and 5 Liverpool defenders. That's something that you just didn't see last season. When we got counterattacked, it was pretty much like 3-on-2 the whole way through. Now we're defending more as a collective. The set piece defending was a little bit concerning, but I think that's just going to take some time because both of Brentford's big chances came off of set pieces. But then again, so does like every team, you know? So I can sit here and I could say that that's concerning, but also every team needs to kind of, you know, be concerned about that. But the big thing for me is I don't know, like, I don't want to sit here and say like we need a 6. Like, I don't want to say that we need a DM. I think that ultimately it's just about depth, right? Like, I don't want to characterize the profile of player that we need because, I mean, listen, I'm not Slot. And I think that Gravenberch was great today. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that I need a destroyer holding midfielder who's press resistant, I'm just going to look at you and say, did you look at the last 2 games? I mean, we got pressed for the entire first half and every player was able to handle his own. We didn't concede a stupid turnover in our own half that led to a counterattack in either of those games, which is a problem that we had last season. The issue for me is that I think we're going to look great up until October, November, when we're playing 3 games a week and we don't have the rotation to deal with that. Like, I don't think that you need to go and drop 60 million on Zubimendi. Like, if he doesn't want to come to Liverpool, it's not the end of the world. But there's other players out there who are quality, who can provide depth. And if you're going to sell the youth who essentially saved us in certain competitions last season, and also, I mean, in January and February, then where's that cover going to come from? So to me, the only logical response here, like Liverpool not buying players to me is gross negligence. And if there's any logic behind it, it's that they believe that we can compete for the first 4 months, be in a position where we're 6-10 points off first place, and then buy players. But then again, if you do that, the price goes up. So, you know, I think that a lot of people condemn Liverpool fans saying you're just yelling 6, you're yelling left back. But to me, it's just more about future sight and looking at the fact that we're going to have to play 3 games a week. And I don't think we have the players, let alone the quality, to do it, because our starting 11 is fantastic. And if this were FIFA and everyone were fully fit at the beginning of every game, I would totally agree with you, Terry. We could easily compete for this league. We could easily finish within 5 points, but it's not FIFA. And I know that Arne Slot came in because his past records with injuries are sensational, right? Like, the guy, people do not get hurt with him, but it's still like, these are still human beings and you're still playing 60 games a season. And I don't care who your manager is, your legs are going to get tired, especially if you run the way Soboslai was today. He was playing as a 10, but he was basically a box to box.
Yeah, listen, I agree with what you're saying.
Can I just say one thing as well, Terry, on what Mike said? Because what Mike just said is so true, and this is the issue this is the overarching point, right? Some people, and I'm so glad G and Mike are exactly like, whether we disagree on opinions or not, I'm just talking about long-term vision, right? Some people are not thinking of this season just going like, oh, we beat Brentford, that's it. Some people are thinking about March. You know where my mind is? My mind is February, March, April, May. That's where my mind is. And I realize that in football, in the world of football, there will be injuries. There will be people who can't be fit. There will be people who have knocks. There will be people blah, blah, blah. I mean, Curtis Jones was injured for today's game. Like, it just as an example. So none of us here, and I know I'll speak for most Liverpool fans, 99%. No one would be shocked if Jota got injured again or Konate got injured again. And I do agree with Mike. Okay, no problem. Even if you don't want to sign a DM, at least get options of depth. At least get options who can make impact. At least get impact players. Do something, because it's nonsensical. And Terry was there when I first became a content creator, stuff talking, calling out the club and calling out. Listen, have you ever been to Anfield? Go support Man City. You just like to whinge and complain. Jan Molby, who's a Liverpool legend, shall we ask him to go support Man City? Shall we ask him if he's been to Anfield? He's won trophies at Liverpool, and even he's saying we have to sign players. And it's the same with Virgil van Dijk. I don't know if Terry's aware of this. Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, our actual own players are coming out publicly and saying, yeah, we need to sign players. So it's not being negative. It's just assessing what's going to happen in March.
I think there's a few things at play here. There are some Liverpool fans who subscribe to this notion of, yes, we know there's a problem, but we're not meant to tell anybody. We're meant to, like, loose lips sink ships. They want it all kept in-house. But but that's impossible when your players and your manager are coming out and saying these things. What I would also say is this, that I do understand the logic around, I'm really happy with the win, but you almost don't want to get too carried away with it because you know that there's going to be injuries and you know what's coming. And the world would be different if Arsenal and City also had squads where with 2 or 3 injuries they look thin. Then you're all on a level playing field, and I don't think it would matter as much. In terms of the opening couple of games, I want to throw this out to the panel. Which players do you feel have taken to life under Slot in the best way? Who have you been? It may be someone who's continued being great. It may be someone who's starting to look better. Who do you feel as Liverpool fans has been a kind of standout player or two in the new Slot era so far?
Gravenberch has looked great in this. You know, I don't want to call him a 6 because I don't think he's a 6, but in this double pivot, I think he's looked excellent. I think Luis Diaz has looked good the first 2 games. I mean, I know that he missed some chances against Ipswich, but it still doesn't change the fact that he was creating chances and he was making forward runs and he was breaking the lines. I also think Konate looked excellent today. But then again, he also looked great last season. But to me, like the biggest one is Trent, right? Because in this system through the first 2 games, he is drifting into midfield, but he's staying on the right side. I know that there were a couple moments today where he flipped to the left, but I think that was just because of the nature of the counterattack, and sometimes that happens. But from this right side, the amount of creative balls that he is putting past the defensive line. I mean, in the first half today, he played a world-class ball to Mohamed Salah, almost identical to the one that he did against Ipswich. It was just maybe a foot beyond. And so if Trent can be in this role where he's able to provide great defensive cover, which he has through these first 2 games, I mean, watch any counterattack from today. Trent is bombing down the pitch, totally opposite to last season, right? Which is amazing. That's what I want. And also when you channel him to the right side, that brings out his best creative his best creative abilities that we saw back in 2017, 2018, 2019 that brought him into that conversation of this guy might be the best right back in the world. And if he can continue to do that, I think he's just going to shine more and more because he's able to cover everything that everyone criticized him for, and then he's able to continue doing his best ability, which is creating opportunities from world-class 60-yard balls.
How about yourself, G?
No one's really stood out. It's hard, man. It's only really been 2 games. Do you get what I mean? So no one's really stood out, if I'm being honest. Like I think everyone's been. You've had some good games here, good games there. I think what Mike said, maybe, like Trent probably. I've liked what he's done. So Bozolai, I've liked what he's done in the first 2 games. Yeah, Trent and Szoboszlai maybe, but no one's really like. There's not really been a standout performance. I think when we look at and this isn't to criticize or anything, but I feel like because there's such an onus on this whole 6-6-6 position kind of thing, because everyone's looking at it. Oh, Liverpool went in for Zubimendi and all of this kind of stuff, right? I feel like when we're then watching someone like a Gravenberch in that kind of position. For me anyway, that's why I never look at it as, this has been standout from Gravenberch. I just kind of look at it like, yeah, he's doing a fine job, by the way, and nothing bad about it, but he's just doing a calm job. He's not doing anything that is going to make me believe like, this is an absolutely Rodri-esque type of performances where you're like, oh my goodness, he's taking it to like this other worldly level. Now, that's not to say he will not get there. I'm not trying to dismiss him. He's been calm, especially in today's game. He was absolutely calm, but I just think that because we're so focused on it, we're looking at it so hard because we want a 6, because obviously we want something potentially different or something better than a Gravenberch. And I think maybe fans, the general consensus is if we see that something better, then you'll start to notice, so this is what Liverpool look like with a better number 6. That's actually crazy considering how good people think we look now. Imagine, and Zubimendi, Edison, whoever. Just imagine if you had a better version of this player. Jesus Christ, we'd be looking absolutely crazy. So I think Husam said it there perfectly, man. It's like, I'm not even really thinking about like the now period for me, because at the end of the day, Liverpool don't lose that many games anyway in a season. So it's not like I'm going to think, we're going to lose 10 games. We lose about less than 5 every single season. It's always later on when we get to that February, March period. Do we have the quality and depth it remains to be seen. Me, I don't think we do, but that's more what I'm focused about is when we get to that kind of period, if you don't sign anybody and you continue like this, just like last season, we were winning games. Just like last season, we were top of the league. You know, things were looking great, but then you could see eventually it starts to take its toll because one, you don't have the quality and the type of football that you are playing isn't really sustainable. Now we've got the sustainability part in terms of the football. Have we got the quality? Let's see. Let's see.
I mean, I think the bigger problem with not investing in new talent is not this season, right? It's like it's not the result of this season. It's the fact that basically that tells the three players, your three core players who you haven't re-signed yet, that we're not willing to invest in the team at this current moment. So why would that incentivize any of those guys, especially Trent, because Trent is the youngest, Trent is in his prime. Why would that incentivize him to stay at this club? So the bigger worry to me is not even this season. Like, to be honest with you, if we don't sign anyone by the end of this transfer window, like this season is not even in my mind. It now becomes like, do I literally have to just hope that, you know, the Scouser tax is going to keep Trent here? And I know that that's what everyone's going to say. They're going to say, oh, well, he's Liverpool born and bred. Stevie G didn't leave. I'm like, okay, but that's history, and history doesn't always repeat itself, especially when you bring in human emotion into the equation. So, like, that becomes the big worry to me. Like, if I were Trent's agent, I'd say, why would you want to stay here? Now, if we go on and we're competing, whatever, but that's a huge gamble. That's a massive risk when you don't need to take it, when you've literally just sold, you just got 70 million for Fabio Carvalho and Sepp Vandenberg. I mean, that's absurd. That's absurdly good business that we did that. And you turn around and you don't spend a nickel, right? And you basically tell them, I think you guys are good enough, even though you're all telling me that you know, you're not, but I'm wrong. I'm right. You're wrong. That's it. Like, why would he want to stay here? And that's what concerns me.
Yeah. And I listen.
And can I just, and this is
Go
not a
on,
dig
go
at
on.
Man United. I'm being serious. I'm actually being serious. Terry knows when I'm joking, when I'm being serious. He even, like, he looks at someone like a Rashford around him, let's say, okay? Remember when the PSG stuff was happening? And he's probably thinking to his mind, like, what would have happened maybe in Rashford's world if he moved to PSG then? You know, like, what and he's looking at, like, people even in the England team, you know, he's looking at Jude and stuff, because him and Jude are close. Like, he's looking at Jude being nominated for a Ballon d'Or, spoken about as the best of the best, you know, and I understand, and Mike is 100% right. People need to understand something. Just obviously, we want all football players to be loyal to us. Every single one of us here, regardless of your support, want your player to be loyal to you 100% and all that. But we must also exist in the reality. Look at it from Trent, even Mo. I would include Virgil and Alisson's perspective. That's why Virgil and Alisson as well have been vocal. They are world-class players. Some of the best players in their position in world football. And they're just looking around, and there's like no one coming in, no one to support, nothing to look forward to. And they themselves, you think Trent, Mo, Alisson, and these guys aren't speaking like what I'm speaking? Do you think the players aren't going around going like, why haven't we signed anyone?
Of course they are. And the thing for fans is, I know none of us have forever because life is life. But as fans, you have 5 years to wait. Footballers don't, because their career is 10 to 15 years. I get it. And look, listen, a few people in the comments saying you guys are being too negative. We just won. Can't we talk about that? I mean, we have spoken about the win.
We were great today.
The good parts on the show, but I also understand it. Like I didn't think about the longer term situation because I just watched this today as a Man United fan, and I'm pissed off that Liverpool looks so comfortable. I'm annoyed that Liverpool looks so good, but I also see it from your perspective where you're like, it is really good, but this feeling isn't going to last because.
Will it be good in March?
Yeah, you know what it is, Terry. Yeah,
yeah.
You see from a Liverpool, and I guess you're not going to understand unless you're a Liverpool, Arsenal, or a City fan. You see the fine margins at the top. It's only a few. Obviously, we finished. What was it, 7 to 9, whatever it is? It was behind 9 behind Manchester City, right? So you like, and Arsenal finished what, like 2 points behind City. Like, bro, these margins are so small. Like, I get it when you, like, and no disrespect, but you Chelsea, United, Newcastle, Spurs, you're kind of down there. So, you, like, for you guys, when you get the wins and victories, it's almost like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Whereas we know, like we will always know when we've watched our team for the last, like, however many years, we know the difference. Like, we've played good. We've had an 18-19 season, finishing on 90+ points and still did not win the league. So when we watch these kind of performances, it's not about being negative or positive or anything like that. It's just more about we're always trying to figure out, like, bro, can we be that little bit better? Because we've been good and still not won the league.
And the better
we're
is
trying
just,
to find
yeah.
the small margins.
No, I hear you. On today's game, just getting back to analysing the game, Donny here says the line not as high anymore seems a more controlled press too. Are you noticing that in terms of the game today, your defensive line sitting a little bit deeper and it's stopping you from being so vulnerable maybe?
I think
Yes.
No. Okay.
No.
I to be honest with you, I don't even think the high line is the right way to look at it. I think that we're not nearly as wasteful. I think last season we kind of got caught out with our pants down when we had the ball in the opposing third, right? We got a little bit too ahead of ourselves. We were wasteful. We had sloppy turnovers, and then we would get found out on the counter because we weren't really getting broken down. And I really think that that's just down to the fact that we had too many men forward. We were basically relying on Konate and Virgil to cover 4 players in front of them, right? I mean, Arsenal is a great game to look at. People were flaming Konate. It's like, but he's getting attacked by Havertz and Martinelli, and it's a 2-on-1 every single time. It's no wonder that he finally had a red card. So when you're less wasteful, you're not going to have as many counterattacks. And when you're more controlled in possession, players are going to be in better positions. So I think that a lot of the defensive stability that we have comes from the stability that we have in possession through these first 2 games. I don't think that the line is as high, but also I think that everyone's just doing.
We're still playing a high line though, because we keep a lot of possession. We still are playing a high line.
100%. But if we don't turn over the ball sloppy, then it doesn't become an issue, right? And we're not doing that, and we're very quick to pass it back, which I'm happy with.
Sorry, I'll come to you in a second. No, I think this is really good because sometimes, and it's great analysis, because sometimes the higher line is the symptom as opposed to potentially the problem, as an example. And this is what you just said. Someone's put a stat in I didn't know about, but Liverpool completed 92% of their passes in today's game. Their best passing accuracy in the Premier League since 2003, 2004. So in 21 years, today was your most accurate game in terms of pass completion. So you're right. If you're losing the ball less in dangerous areas with a higher line, you're not going to be attacked as much. And we've seen that Chelsea's problem in pre-season, in the first half today. They invert their fullbacks and they lose the ball in dangerous areas. And then there's big fucking holes that teams can run through. Second half, they were in a more rigid position. They moved the ball quicker. They weren't being caught in possession, and they sliced through Wolves. So really, it's definitely. I think it's worth, especially for non-Liverpool fans. Watch it when it comes to Liverpool, and that's a Dutch thing. And so when you think of Dutch football, you do think about it being a, generally speaking, teams that are better in possession. So yeah, it's a really good bit of analysis there, Mike. Husam, what were you going to say, bruv?
I was going to say, genuinely, just to kind of like test out this whole thing, I wish we played Man United this week, or a team at least of higher quality. Because let's be honest, Ipswich or Brentford are like Brentford at home and Ipswich away, probably 2 games you expect Liverpool to win anyway. I wish we were tested, tested against a tougher opposition, in which we could really genuinely micro-analyze these points, because obviously we're keeping possession better, we're passing the football better, because that's never been, Klopp didn't give a shit about the football, to be honest with you. So that's never been his thing. But for me, I just wish we played a tougher opposition, because what happens to Gravenberch when it's Bruno, Mainu, and whoever? What happens to Gravenberch when it's Rice, Odegaard, etc.? What happens to Gravenberch when it's Rodri, Gundogan? That's what I wanted to see, just so we can see him under that pressure of playing out of a City press or a United press or an Arsenal press or a Chelsea press or etc. So I can't believe I included Chelsea in that, but yeah, in those type of oppositions. So, but the problem is next week, if it does go to the shits like it did 2 years ago, transfer window is closed already, so we're gonna have to just hold it for 4 months essentially.
Yeah, but it also, again, listen, we'll be previewing it in the week, but Man United, even based on both our performances in the first 2 games of the season, Man United can beat Liverpool next week. That isn't even a weird take if somebody thinks and feels. Yeah. You might get beat, but it have nothing to do with slot system not working or the fact that you haven't been out. Yeah. Again, you could argue if you went and bought 4 world-class players, you could argue that could make a difference, but you're never going to do that. So you may even lose and it not be because you don't have a 6. It might just be a really close game. And in the last 2 minutes, Trent makes a weak back pass and we run through and score. So I think that what fans have got to learn to do sometimes, and we're on a match reaction. So yes, we talk about wider issues, but sometimes we take something that happens in a particular game. I saw people yesterday saying Xerxes reminds me of Lukaku. Why? Well, Lukaku did stupid things, like he knew he'd be offside and he'd go and touch the ball. I said, okay, but I'm not getting the comparison, because Lukaku did that about 4 times in one season where he was clearly offside, shouldn't have touched the ball, but he still ran towards it and did it. He went, well, because Xerxes touched the ball and it was going to go over the line.
It wasn't even his fault. He tried to get his knee out of the way.
I was like, but he couldn't help it. There's nothing he could do. He put every ounce of energy to trying to get onto that ball, right? And he didn't get it. If he wouldn't have slid for that ball and Garnacho wasn't there, we'd have gone, why isn't he breaking his neck to try and touch the ball? But the point is, some people, they see one thing they don't like, or there's one bad result, and it's right, let's throw baby out with the bathwater and say everything's going to be crap. And from my perspective, I just sort of feel like you guys are not in a rebuild stage, but there is a transitional period with a new manager. There are going to be some ups, and even with the team, because you haven't signed anybody, there's going to be some ups and downs this season. There's no doubt, but it isn't your players' fault, and it isn't your manager's fault that your club haven't bought him anybody. So, what was that great line from the Hunger Games? Remember who the real enemy is. You know what I'm saying? Remember who the actual person to blame.
John W. Henry, baby.
No, it isn't.
Yes.
There's not a single Liverpool player in your squad. There's not a single Liverpool player in your squad who is accountable for your club not buying new players. Don't take it out on Diaz or Gravenberch or Endo. They're not good enough, or they're not good enough at that position, or they're not consistent enough. If your club doesn't replace them, don't abuse the player. Speak about your football club, because they're in control. And let's have it right as well. You guys have been in a good position for a long time. This is kind of like, some of these things should have been addressed. Your midfield should have been addressed years ago, especially the kind of DM role, and it hasn't been. That's no one that's in your squad's fault. And I just feel like the modern day fan, sometimes we can get a little bit, like the amount of times we take it out on the player that we don't like. It's weird. Like, I'm really happy to see Scott McTominay leave today. I've never really blasted him on very many match reactions. People were like, why are you harsher on Pogba and Bruno? And because they're 10 times the player he is. Like, Scott McTominay starting is a club issue, not a Scott McTominay issue. He shouldn't be starting for Man United. It shouldn't have happened, But yeah, it's the modern day fan. Super chat here says a problem with the club, or rather the disconnect, is that the club will shell out money when they think it's right, but not if they don't think there's one available. At the moment, they just don't think there is anybody.
Yeah, but here's the thing: we cannot speak out of both sides of our mouth, because Mike will tell you this as well, even maybe to his shock, as someone who watches my channel, he'll tell you this. The truth, I was telling people to calm down 2 months ago, because I said Slot is assessing the squad. Okay, he assessed it. He said he needed a DM. Let's all be logical. None of us were a fly in the room. But Arne Slot did not knock. Hi, Richard, get me Zubimendi or no one. That's not what he said. And remember, Arne Slot, 2 months ago, I praised Liverpool for bringing him to be the head coach, not the manager. So he's not responsible for any transfer decisions. That's why I said it like 2 weeks ago. I said, from now on, I'm not blaming Slot for any of this. At this point, it isn't his fault, because there's no way he assessed the squad and said, yeah, I don't need anyone. It's either Zubimendi or no one else. Let's not act like Slot, who needed to assess the Liverpool squad, was out there watching Sociedad and said, I'm only going to sign Zubimendi. So that is a club decision. That's a huge decision. That's Edwards' decision, whoever the hell. And I'm not going to play the blame game. I'm raising the middle finger to all three. FSG, John, and Richard Hughes, and Michael Edwards. Whoever it is, I don't give a shit whose fault it is as an institution. Because the truth of the matter is, when you sign a new player, when you get a new manager, you are expected to back the manager with players that help him. I simply want Arne Slot to be helped. I want Mo and Trent and Virgil and Alisson to be helped. We need to help these players. And that's it. So you cannot, and then there's an analogy I always use. Look, we cannot just say tomahawk steak or I'm going to starve to death. Because there's Chinese food and Italian food and Japanese food and multiple different cuisines which have very good food. Exactly. So, okay, Zubimendi, let's assume Zubimendi was the best option available in the entirety of the market. I'll shake your hand, no problem. Varela's still an option. Ederson is still an option. There's so many options in the DM position out there in world football. Go get one of them.
Well, I think that the question is wrong, right? Like the way that the question is phrased, I think has a lot to do with what the answer should be. Because ultimately, when you look at it, I don't think that it's that Liverpool see that there's no one else that they need that matches the right profile. I think it's that essentially what they're telling us is that they've assessed the options out there and they believe that the better gamble is to buy into people like Bajcetic and Curtis Jones and even like Trey and Yoni, and basically say we think that these players are good enough to do the jobs of the people that we would be bringing in. Now, the real question should be: are you in line with that gamble, or are you against that gamble? Do you agree or do you disagree against that assessment of the squad? And personally, I disagree. I think that the squad needs a couple more experienced players to not have to rely on those people. I mean, one of which didn't play at all last season because of growing pains, and the other who's quite literally 18 years old. So, to me, it's just more about, do you think that the gamble is worth it? I don't. I think that you need one or two.
And the guy that we played, we sold them as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a matter of, and like, here's the thing though, if it works, they're absolute geniuses. So like, this is like the dilemma that we're in as Liverpool fans, because if this ends up working out and we're challenging come January, and all it takes is, all right, we've assessed the squad, we've been here for 4 months, we're 2 points off the top, all we need is this guy. Boom, you're an absolute genius. But the thing is that if you're a genius early on, usually people come at you like you're crazy. People called Steve Jobs crazy. People called, Ray Kroc crazy. It's just like, that's just the nature of the game. So, if you're going to say that we're being negative, we're complaining, it's like, that's just the natural reaction to a crazy.
But Mike, here's the issue for me, right, with this whole conversation. The problem is the following. I'm going to treat football as a science. I'm going to treat it as 1 + 1 = 2, even though sometimes 1 + 1 is not equal to 2 in football. But we have had 4 years of Liverpool not winning the league to think of and assess exactly what happened in those 4 years, regardless whether it was with a different manager or whoever. Because guess what? 4 years later, Alisson, Trent, Virgil, and Mo is still the spine. One thing that Chelsea did in their 20 years where they were winning league titles and winning Champions League and whatever, is they surrounded the spine with fresh blood, with new players who can help improve the team.
He does that every season.
Now, you guys know this as Liverpool content creators specifically. 4 years ago, we were told Curtis Jones is good enough. 4 years ago, we were told Elliott is good enough. 4 years ago, we were told rely on youngsters. So I'm not just gonna change, my energy a year later, because the science proves that I can't rely on Jota, I can't rely on Konate. They're both injury prone. The science proves that Diaz is not going to do this for 38 Premier League games. Nunes is not going to do this for 38 Premier League games. Blah, 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 blah. Let's not mention all the reasons all over again. But everyone knows you need help.
I think as well, Liverpool, and this is where I will defend people like Husam's takes. You did it with Van Dijk, where you wanted him, you couldn't get him because of the situation with you in Southampton. You didn't buy somebody else, you waited and you bought him. But I feel like that example, which is what the better part of 7 years ago now, has always given FSG and Edwards too much credit. It was always, we just won't buy players. We wait for a number one target or we don't buy. But the problem is, in the last few years, it was going to be Bellingham, it was going to be Caicedo, it was going to be and you haven't ended up getting them. So you're at a point where this is where a grown-up conversation has to take place. Because if you were to sit in front of the room and say that's the real mantra of the club, we only buy a number one target or nobody. It's like, yeah, but in the last 5 years, we've missed out on loads of our number one targets, and we're still only a stone throw away from winning the league. Can't we amend that policy to be, well, we signed number 1, 2, or 3? Because you would have definitely, if you wouldn't have signed Bellingham, but signed somebody close to his level and was in your team now, if you'd have signed a world-class DM, if you would have signed another attacker that's at Mane's level, and that's attainable for a club your size and as wealthy as you might have won one more league title. You might have won another Champions League title. And I think that, and I know some people saying, Terry, this is match analysis. We've done the match analysis and we're talking on a deeper level now. That's what we do in every single show. That is where I think the criticism is warranted. I don't think you're being spoilt brat. You're essentially saying we're brilliant.
We aren't.
But we could literally go a little bit further. We could, if a City fan was like, I'm just not happy because we've won all these trophies, but we didn't hit 100 points every year, I'd say, shut up. You're being stupid. But Liverpool could have done as a club a little bit more than they have, and maybe that reward would have been much bigger and better. Just some other updates that have come out. Chelsea are thinking of adding Sterling and Chilwell in a deal towards Man United for Jadon Sancho. I'm actually not going to lie, right? Forget Chilwell's there, great. Jadon Sancho out, Chilwell and Sterling in.
That's a better deal for Man United. People
Yeah, I feel like
it's a great deal for United. It's a great deal for United.
I would take it in the sense it depends on the contracts, money, and everything else. But if we just think of it as person for person, Sancho's done nothing for us, barring a couple of good performances. So the floor's so low on the improvement, it might be worth it. Do you know what I mean?
Sterling support Man United.
Sterling is a Man United fan, yeah. But
yeah, he's
a United. Say, right? I would have genuine reservations. Is he really past it? Can he get back to his best? The one element about that deal, okay, Staffy, relax, brother. I tell you, the one element about the deal that excites me. Forget Ben. By the way, Ben Chilwell when fit is very good, but again, that one I don't want. But do you know what excites me about potentially getting Raheem Sterling? And it isn't even football directly. It's the hope. And it is hopium. It's the hope he delivers because it would hurt. Say he came to Man United and was great for 2 or 3 years and helped win trophies. It would hurt Liverpool. It would hurt City. And it would hurt Chelsea. That element I fucking like. But equally, Chelsea fans are like, imagine Sancho comes here and delivers.
No. Chelsea are just signing. But how many Sancho do they have?
Hang on a minute.
Felix and Kunku.
Where's he going to play?
They're all like Sancho.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, where's he?
They're all
how many attackers do they need?
It's not even attackers, Mike. It's the same exact concept of attacker, like a hybrid between like a 10 and a winger who cuts in and creates and Felix.
But they scored 6 against Wolves, guys.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah,
I can't like you. It doesn't help.
That's also it. They were actually amazing in that second half today. And I don't know. I know that I always say that it's survival of the fittest at a football club. But can you kind of imagine the players like, you know, Sterling's leaving, that person's going, I'm now getting my time. Fucking hell, we've signed Felix. Okay, cool. Fucking hell, now Sancho's coming. It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. How you doing, Jack, by the way? Are you a Liverpool fan as well?
Yeah. Good to meet you guys.
Good to meet you too. What you here to say, brother?
Nothing, just good game overall.
Nothing. Sorry, that made me laugh. We're here for nothing. I'm just here to watch. Sorry, go on, carry on, mate.
Overall, good game overall. I think it's going to take some adjustment period for the fans to get used to how Slot wants to set up in terms of like early build-up. But overall, good game. I don't think Brentford threatened us too much. I think first half we had some really good spells of possession and kind of later stage build-up. But I feel as if they were kind of just losing it a bit, you know, like they'd lose track of what they were trying to do. They'd then try and rush the ball forward a bit. It would get turnover on second balls. Brentford would get possession and push forward. I feel in the second half, though, they did pretty well. I don't feel Brentford really threatened us too much. The goals were finished really well, I thought. The big takeaway for me is I feel Gravenberch could be a 6, but I feel you're just putting round, like square pegs into round holes again, man. Like his ability to take the ball and turn and face the goal is fantastic. If he can't do that, I don't feel he has the ability to, how can I explain, like spread play and make sure that he doesn't have someone behind him like actively trying to kill him. His space interpretation there, like in the block, isn't the best. He can learn it, but again, square pegs, round holes.
I hear you. Listen, I hear you on that, and I think, as you say, very rarely do players change role and do great jobs.
Yeah,
you know, there's been Bastian Schweinsteiger was a winger or, you know, wide player, become a great DM. Scholes adapted well as he got older, but then you look at excellent players. Frank Lampard never could. Gerrard did a decent job when he had to change roles, and that was as they got older. But normally, you know, people have a special. Most of the people that are good at multiple roles typically are not individuals that are really that great. You get some attackers that can play across the front, but as midfielders, you know, KDB could not become a DM, in my opinion. I just don't think he knows how to do it, and it's a rarity indeed. Chelsea fans watching, I do have an offer for you. I want to make on behalf of Man United. So you can have Jadon Sancho. We will take Chilwell from you. We'll even take Sterling from you and pay their wages. But we'll also give you £80 million on top of Jadon Sancho. No, in fact, 85 million. Sancho, but we want Palmer as well. That, for me, that way we're getting rid of 2 players you hate and getting their salaries off your books. You get Sancho that you're desperate for, but we also get Palmer because he's from Manchester. He supports us. He loves us more than you. Let's do that deal. That way you get...
Would you include Anthony in that?
You listen, you can have Anthony. You can take Anthony for free and we'll pay his wages. Do you know what I mean? Literally, we'll do it. We'll do it. You can have Lindelof. We'll pay his wages. Just give us Palmer. See, they've said deal. They said deal. Look, I want to thank everyone that's tuned into the show this evening. It means a great deal to us. Please hit the like button before you leave. Go check out StocksFC if you haven't done so already. Everyone who signs up to their free account goes into a draw to win a signed shirt from Erling Haaland. It's all framed. It's all done. It's all great. And big up to, I think it's Jack. I've got a person called Jack. I'm not allowed to say their surname because of data protection, who won the signed Trent Alexander-Arnold ball. So go and get your account signed up now. Was it you?
No, I just said, oh,
was it you?
convenient.
I was about to say that's proper random.
You want it as well.
They messaged me saying this is the person. They said you can't say their full name on camera though because of data protection. And I was like, oh, it's Jack, and then I realized you're called Jack. Listen, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we're going to see you all again very, very soon. Peace.